No.
Now we are live.
Okay, thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to calling the Planning and Programming Committee meeting to order Thursday, June 18th. Is it not on? Not working?
No, sorry, the audio is really
hearing it.
Is it?
bad. Try this one.
Hello, is that better?
Yes.
Shall I do it again? Again, calling the Planning and Programming Committee meeting of the MBTA to order for Thursday, June 18, 2026. Please call the roll.
Chair Mayor Davis Younger,
Present.
Chair Gaskin, or Mayor Gaskins, excuse me. Chair Jefferson. Present. Board Member Karen Tonis. Mayor Reed. Present. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much for that. Moving along in the agenda, the first item we have under action items is item 2, the summary notes of May 18, 2026 meeting. Assuming everyone has read those, if we can get a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
We have the motion by Chair Jefferson, seconded by Mayor Reed. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries. Our meeting notes are approved. That moves us forward to item 3, the FY 2026 to 2031 6-year program update. 3 is here to help us with that. Good evening, sir.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman.
You were so helpful for me, and then you forget for yourself.
Yes, I need to switch on the button. Yeah. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, members. I'll just quickly go through this presentation. We walk you through the 6-year program process in your last meeting. I will just briefly touch about that and then see how different funding programs from the beginning till now has been faring, and then walk you through the staff recommendations. We went through this in detail last time. There are 4 major components in the project selection process: eligibility, 3 quantitative, legally required quantitative analysis, and a set of qualitative considerations. And then finally, public comments. You all were here at the public hearing, and then I presented you to the last authority meeting, the findings from that, what we heard through the public engagement. We put together all that information and created staff recommendations. I will walk you through that now. Just looking at how much money we had in each of these funding programs and how much was actual requested amount. So a ratio of that you can see here. Till the last round, if you look at all of them together, 50% is that ratio. That means we only had 50% of the money that was requested by all the jurisdictions, all the applicants. This time you all approved the pay-go amount at last authority meeting, 775 million. Request is 1.25 million. That's again 62%. So we don't have enough money, as Monica keeps saying that we don't have 1.25 billion. So we have to make some decisions on which projects to fund and which not. Give you some high level summary and some rationale of how staff reached to this recommendation. There are 27 candidate projects. Staff is recommending 21 of them to be funded. 18 of them for the full request, 3 of them partial request. That leaves 6 of the other of those 27 not recommended for any funding. 3 of these projects are continuation projects, which means they already received funding in previous cycles. We are recommending more money to be allocated to those 3 projects. There were 2 projects that are multi-jurisdictional. This is the first time we are seeing that project that cross jurisdictional boundaries, which shows that there is true collaboration, regional collaboration happening. One project is between Loudoun County and Fairfax County. Another one is actually among Prince William, Manassas Park, and Fairfax. So true regional collaboration. As you remember, we had to give priority to congestion reduction related to cost that particular measure. By law, we had to give priority to that. The staff recommendation includes CRRC ranking 1 through 19, except 1 in the middle. I will come to that. The other legally mandated rating is transaction rating, which looks at 10 different performance measures. The staff recommendation includes all those projects from rank 1 through 15, except 2 in the middle. So we are trying to keep up with that 2 requirements, legal requirements, as much as possible. The whole funding stream, if you look at that, so far, we had 3.7 billion, 3.6 billion, and with this additional amount, the total NVTA investment in it from the Regional Revenue Fund will reach to 4.5 billion, starting from fiscal 24 through 2031. That's about 250 million per year invested in the region. That's a total of 153 projects. This particular round, the range of allocation, it starts from a small allocation of 1.5 million in one project, all the way to 200 million in another project, everything in between. So big, small, everything. Geographically and modally balanced. There were 8 applicants, and we are recommending at least 1 project from every jurisdiction. And we are funding all modes. Bike pedestrian is the largest, number 9 projects recommended. Roadway 5, transit 3, technology, intersection, interchange 2 each. Continuing to have a BRT and multimodal focus. As you know, NVTA is funding 5 different BRT projects in the region, 880 million. Now, there are 2 applications this round. With the amount NVTA staff is recommending on that total investment will cross 1 billion. This particular cycle, we have seen the largest number of applications for bike ped projects and largest dollar amount requested. And NVTA staff recommendation also, this cycle will be the biggest one in terms of number of projects as well as dollar amount allocated to bike pedestrian projects. Transportation technology, we always see if there is a transportation technology project in the pool, they always rank top in CRRC. For a small amount, the return on investment is big. Same thing this time too, there are 2 technology projects, both are ranked at the top. Finally, continued focus on corridors. You may remember that in transaction, we look at various projects and all the movements along various larger corridors. We have 11 corridors identified in transaction. And we have been looking at to make sure that those corridors are supported through these projects, movement in those corridors. I-95 Route 1 corridor, there are 3 projects, which is the most congested corridor in the region. 66, Route 29, Route 50, there are 4 projects there. Route 28 and Loudoun County Parkway are 2 different corridors, but 1 project saddles both and supports movement on both those corridors. Glebe Road, there are 4 projects. Glebe Road is not one of the 11 corridors identified in transaction, but it is still a major north-south corridor in the region, and there are projects that are supported there too. At the table, I will come back to. You probably have a printout in front of you, but I will definitely come back to that after a couple of more slides. I mentioned that 3 of the 21 supported projects, recommended projects, are partially recommended for, or partial funding is recommended. Those projects are Fairfax Richmond Highway BRT, Arlington's South George Mason Drive multimodal improvements, and Loudoun County's Colonial Highway pedestrian safety improvements. The reason why we are only recommending partial, multiple reasons, considering external funding in some of these projects, the transaction rating might be low, so we don't feel comfortable to put all the money in that project, or long-term benefit is a consideration. Public comments, when you heard about how the people of Hamilton came here and were supported, so various those factors are taken into consideration for this partial funding recommendation. 6 projects that didn't get any recommendation. Similarly, those projects are either low in CRRC rating or transaction rating. Long-term benefit, maybe a particular jurisdiction is doing well, so we didn't feel comfortable, or they have external funding which is already there, so we don't want to put more money in it, or then geographic balance. We don't want to put all the money in one part of the region or other. So those are the reasons why we recommended 3 projects for partial funding and 6 of them no funding. In summary, this is on the back of that printout that you have. Arlington County submitted 13 applications. Staff is recommending funding for 10 of them. Fairfax County had 1 application. We are recommending partial funding for that. Loudoun County, 2 applications. We are recommending both, 1 full, 1 partial. Prince William had 5 applications. We are recommending 4. City of Alexandria and Falls Church had 2 applications each. We are recommending 1 project each. City of Manassas and Town of Herndon had 1 application each, and we are recommending them. Reminding you again, this is the first time we are getting so many bike-ped applications, and this is the first time we are recommending so many applications. So 9 out of 12 bike-ped projects submitted for funding are recommended. I'll briefly mention about what happened at the 2 statutory committee meetings last night. PCAC, the Planning Coordination Advisory Committee, endorsed staff recommendations as is. There is no change. There were good discussion. 8 of the members supported the staff recommendation. 2 members abstained from that motion when they were voting. The most common reaction was protecting the integrity of the process and professional work conducted by the staff. This particular discussion was there where the PCAC received a request from their member, Arlington Board Member Spain, who shared an email with the members. There was a request to move 8.5 million out of Arlington 0 to 6 project that NVTA staff recommended partial funding. Move that 8.5 million to Arlington 0 to 7, another Arlington project. The first one from where the money is being moved away is ranked 19 in CRRC, and to the project that money is requested to move down to is ranked 23. So from a higher ranked project, 8.5 million to be moved to a lower ranked project. The PCC discussed that in detail, and they decided not to support that transfer. The Technical Advisory Committee met later in the evening yesterday, and they also had a similar discussion. The request from PCAC member for moving the money went to PCAC, not to TAC, but for transparency purposes, we shared that information with TAC too. They also have a similar discussion, and they endorsed staff recommendation as is. Similar to PCAC, they said this transfer request will violate the process. We don't want to do that. We want to protect that integrity of the process. And they endorsed the staff recommendation. That's where we are at this point. TAC and PCAC supported staff recommendation. It's coming to you now. You can take a look and decide how you want to recommend, what you want to recommend to the authority. And then on July 9th, authority will take action on that. One more point, and then I can go back to that table where you can look at the rankings and recommendations. This is more than a year-long process. We started in last May, and here we are in end of June. Next month, we'll come with this process. Once we finish the process, we are almost rolling into the next cycle update. Next May, we will have projects, the portal will open, jurisdictions can start filling in applications for the next round, next 2-year update. So if some of the projects, as you saw, only received partial funding, some of them didn't receive funding, there is an opportunity coming up right away. In the next less than a year, that opportunity will be up there. With that, I can go back to the table, and any questions you may have, I'll be happy to answer.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Backman has anything to add?
Any questions? Very good. Thank you so much for that update there. Okay.
Actually, I have a question, but I don't know if it's an appropriate moment. I wanted to discuss a little bit the Arlington's request to move these 8.5 million from, what was that? Arlington 026 to Arlington 027. But I don't know if this is the right moment.
Yeah, I believe it is the
Okay,
right
good.
moment to do it. Just-
So if there's no objection, so just for framing that, and apologize for being a little bit late. It is a huge improvement to be able to come here with Metro, but sometimes.
I wouldn't know, we don't have much.
No, we are really, really thankful to that. I would move all my funding to this. Not really, but. But actually, yes. So, what this is about. So first of all, for my colleagues here to understand, it hits a little bit home for me personally because I live very, very close to South George Mason Drive. South George Mason Drive is a transversal arterial that goes north to south in Arlington. This is the South George Mason Drive. And when you hear south in Arlington, it means an area that's full of, it's very diverse, historically and currently diverse. I live there. It is a place for growth and investment, has suffered disinvestment in the past, has ton of schools, etc. So both projects actually address the improvement of this corridor. The project that is proposed here for funding is a critical multimodal improvement on corridor. And there is a very, very difficult intersection with Fall-My Run that we have formulated as a separate project, but in reality, this is one piece. So we are extremely interested and we understand that the way the CRCC, the conversion coefficient, rating works, etc., sometimes produces some, in our opinion, less than optimal results, but that's fine. What we are trying here is to get some preliminary engineering on both projects because they are actually part of the same thing. This doesn't take away, funding from anybody else. It shifts only within Arlington's, allotment. Arlington still is a net contributor to NVTA's revenue here. We think that while it's not ideal, it's not really violating the basics of the process. And it's something that will help, without damaging any other jurisdictions, aspirations, and needs, and will move us forward. I have a lot of respect for, staying true to process and NVTA staff's position to this. But I think that this is it's not a significant deviation for that. It's something that is more than warranted if we look at the benefits of that. That's what I wanted to say first, and I'm happy to answer more questions.
Any questions from anyone about it? I'm sorry, Chair, I didn't see you.
No, I wanted to say something, and first of all, I know Mr. Spain is not here, but I just want to say everyone, Margaret Franklin is no longer on NVTA. She's in the House of Delegates. I see her that she was copied on this email from, Mr. Spain, so she didn't get it. But I just want to say this because I felt like this has come up. I think my first year on NVTA, another jurisdiction also wanted to do the same, and it was made clear that money is given to projects, not jurisdictions. Because trust me, I would like to move some of our Prince William money to other projects within our jurisdiction, but we cannot. And so I respect that. I understand the area you're talking about because it is diverse, and I understand the need for this, but I'm a little nervous because again, all of us would like to use NVTA money for other things that may not have scored well. And we have to really be careful about that.
Madam Chair, no contest to that. I want to really highlight the fact that this is one piece, actually. This is like the corridor, and in the middle of that is the project that that is not proposed. And it's not proposed because the system of rating here produces these adverse effects from time to time. It's not like we are proposing to take money from here and get it somewhere else. In my view, in my mind's eye, this is one piece in effect. I'm not going to I'm not going to tell you that this intersection is just another piece of. It's a challenging part of that. We are asking for this transfer because it will help us to do the preliminary engineering at the same time for the entire piece, and that alone is very, very valuable.
Did you have anything? I just have a couple of questions about, because I wasn't in the other meetings, like some of the, if you can share them, comments that the other committees had, because they said no. And they said no for a reason. So I'd like to be sort of informed on what their concerns were for saying no and arriving at no. If you can share that.
Sure. So mainly the process, the legal process requires us to go by CRRC ranking. And if you're moving from a higher ranked project to a lower ranked project, that was one of the biggest concerns, because that kind of violates the whole process. You have to give preference, and then you're not doing, you're just moving around.
So ranking
Ranking
was one of them.
Biggest concern. Then another thing that we heard is creating precedents. That once
Creating what, I'm sorry.
Precedent.
Precedent. Oh, yeah, okay, right,
you do it once, and then
right, then
I
you
think-
open the door.
Judge Jefferson was also kind of getting to the thing. One person does it, then another person also wants to do it, then where will it stop? I think those were the biggest concerns we heard.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I will add, years ago, when it was done, the authority stated they didn't like it. And they would hope that it wouldn't come up again. When it was done, they said, who is going to fill the deficit that's
gonna be my
created
next question.
for the donor project? Where will the deficit come from? Because they said, do
They
not
come
come
from
back to
NPP.
the authority. So that was some of the discussions at that time, but then again, to answer your question specifically, Mr. Nampathieri mentioned the precedents. And we as staff, we don't want to create a free-for-all where everyone is switching projects, given that we have code requirements.
Criteria, meeting criteria, all of those things had to be met to be able to even be considered. So can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Sure. So again, the basic, like pass or fail, your project has to be in transaction, which is the long range plan. The current one you adopted in December of 2022. We do a call for projects. We ask for the transaction number. We verify the transaction number. Once that is done, we go through the applications. The model is run on the projects, because I get it. You know, the authority has really become a major funding entity for transportation projects in Northern Virginia, outpacing, in some cases, other. So, and this is why I always emphasize, when the finance team met, we were looking at 775 million worth of revenue projections, because this is out year money. I'm like, we received $1.25 billion in requests. So inherently, we know that there will be projects that will not receive funding. The code requires us to justify and explain, when you select projects that are not in CRRC order, what is the why? And we have to document that. And the language is clear. It does say give priority to, but we also have to document why we did not do that. We have to use our performance measures. It's a whole, and this is where Shreve noted in a previous meeting, the quantitative and the qualitative. We were happy to see a lot of bike ped and non-road projects, but if you look at the list, there were projects that scored higher for CRRC that staff did not recommend. And as he noted, for various reasons, we did not recommend. There were projects that scored higher in CRRC where we recommended, but not recommended fully funding. So we tried to make sure, and we can justify those as well, but we tried to make sure that we could have a program. Number one, geographic balance and modal distribution are very important. It's very important to make sure that the funding is programmed throughout the region and that we have various modes. So we do have the quantitative and the qualitative process. But two of the questions that came up last night is, and I don't know what the authority will do. If it is done, does it create a precedence that the authority is uncomfortable with? Does what happens to the integrity of the process? Who will come up with the deficit that's created for taking monies off a project? Because what the authority has said, you do this, do not come back to the authority. As Mr. Nampathiri noted, we're going to have another call for projects May of next year. When he said it last night, I'm like, May, that's soon for us, but others may not think so. And what I noted, both of these projects, there are no funding on them right now. So until you take action, we are trying to, consider everything when we make the staff recommendation, and we make sure we are consistent with the code.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you for that. Any other questions, comments? Mr. Snyder.
Madam Chair, happily, I'm not on this committee, so thank you for allowing me to just ask a quick question about Falls Church. It's not only the Arlington question. And I wonder, listening to the Arlington question, if these two things are so close to each other, I don't know if redefinition of the project is appropriate or not to include whatever it is that the engineering they want to do, if it's truly part of the same intersection or whatever. Anyway, just throwing that out. With regard to Falls Church, thank you very much. Thanks for the staff. I've been through a number of these. It's an incredible amount of great work. We had two projects. One was funded. Thank you very much. The second one was not, just for educational purposes. What led to the decision not to fund the other one? Just so that we can learn from that for the future. Thank you.
If you look at that table, that printout you have in front of you, the two Falls Church applications, one is in CRRC column, it is ranked 17, which staff is recommending funding. And then the next one is ranked 20th, which staff is not recommending. So you can see that from the top, when we came down, we skipped a few projects and went down to make sure we have a geographic balance. We consider the external funding other people are bringing, and then public comments. And then when we came back to the top and started filling in, the money is running out. So at that point, the Haycock Road shared use path, by the time we reached there, the money has run out. And we already funded or recommended funding a higher ranked city project. It's, again, I want to make sure you all understand that the ranking doesn't mean that the lowest ranked projects are bad in itself. They are good projects. It's just the pool of projects decides which one are the top, which one goes to the bottom.
But there's also project, does Fairfax have a component?
No, the lower ranked project is multimodal improvement, adding a shared use path north of Route 7, Broad Street, and along Haycock Road, south of Route 7, on the same side of Haycock, NVT has funded a project. and Fairfax County is implementing that. So this project would have extended that to the north. That's that application for, but unfortunately when we are running out of funds at that point.
Mrs. Snyder, you were just on the cusp, so if the George Mason Drive multimodal project wasn't recommended for any reason, then we would have picked up your project because you're just under the project where we ran out of money. Essentially, one of the reasons why you don't see a full funding amount for the Arlington project is just the money ran out per the programming.
Okay, and what was there about the rating that led to it falling below the line? What, just again, for education purposes, just because I know I'll be asked this and I want to give an answer.
Again, the similar question was for another project came up in PCAC last night too. In general, this particular ranking, CRRC looks at how much of congestion is reduced by a project. And when we look at that, if the new project is, in this case, a bike pedestrian project, if it is creating an entirely new facility where there was no bike pedestrian facility before, that will have a higher impact. In this case, we already have sidewalks on both sides of Haycock Road, and then you're adding a shared use path, which definitely will have some additional users there, but there is already existing sidewalks on both sides. So the number of people moving away from driving to use that bike path and reduce congestion is relatively small.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Mr. Karatonis, did I say that right? Karatonis.
Yes,
I try.
something that's actually it's connected to Mr. Snyder's question, and it had a lot to do with something that I appreciate a lot is that we measure here the benefits, right, from projects. And as you remember in our presentation that we had, both Arlington and Alexandria are net contributors, but the long-term benefits haven't caught up with the level of investment, which is fine. We had a conversation last time about why this is fine. One of the things that I appreciate on the George Mason projects, so 26 and 27, is the significant multimodal benefits that they contribute. And of course, I think about the actual beneficiaries because I know them, they're my neighbors. But for me, these kind of projects really push the benefit, the triangle, and they push them towards the contribution, balance the account, so to say. So this is one of the reasons why I think that there is it's not completely out of order and a violation of the process per se, if we ask for helping the preliminary engineering of the second project. I just wanted to make this case.
Thank you. Yes, Mayor Reed.
And I can appreciate sometimes the more practical thing that is the obvious choice, a higher impact, a better benefit, and it's more practical. But I also understand we have a process, we have a lot of projects, and so two competing things can be true at the same time. I think we can all have an appreciation for the case that you're making and say it makes sense, but then we have to understand it is one request out of many requests, and in the future, there could also be people who are like, but this makes more sense. It's more practical. There's a higher benefit. And so I do understand that. I have a lot, because we're all in local government. We all have projects where we could change it or switch it up or do something and it would be better in the end. I get that, but we're handling a lot of projects and so much money over so many jurisdictions that I do think that in the practical effect is that we're compromising the process. And I don't think that's really what we want in the end.
If I can ask you a question, and forgive my ignorance, is why wouldn't this be submitted as one project? Because you said it's the same section, same area, so why not have put it in as one?
Yeah.
If you can help me with that.
As I told you, in my mind's eye and also in my
Mhm.
policy eye, is
Mhm.
this one project for me, it's the South Transmission Drive. To my understanding, I have a staff member here, he can explain that more in detail. The intersection is a very challenging one. It is two major arterials, or one minor, one major. It is a bike trail that goes through there, and George Mason Drive in the middle of that. So it's a challenging node for all purposes. In addition to that, just the level of pedestrian accommodation, to give you an idea, this is really in or just adjacent to one of our biggest affordable housing complexes that we acquired 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And, you know, this is a place with hundreds of kids and bikes and what have you. So this is more difficult. It's just a different level of delivery than the rest of the multimodal. You know, if I was the engineer, you know, the kind of amateur engineer, I would just do that in one. But here are the experts, and they can. Mr. Roisman.
As Mr. Karantonis has said previously, the projects do have independent utility, but they are also tied to each other. Literally, the intersection improvement is at the midpoint of the corridor improvement. Staging it in this way is consistent with the way other authority jurisdictions program their projects. You typically would do a corridor road improvement, and then if you need a grade separation at an intersection, you would pursue that separately. They are rarely, except in the case of significant mega projects, they are rarely packaged as a single project delivery.
So Madam Chair, I do want to remind everyone, this is out year money, fiscal years 30 and 31. And so you approve it in July. We have, and I'm not going to say good or bad and indifferent. Well, it's not the best thing, but we have been in a position to forward appropriate, but it's not great. We forward appropriate because we want to see projects moving, but this is fiscal year 30 and 31 funding. When you do the call for projects for May of next year, it will be for fiscal years 32 and 33. It is our hope, if the authority chooses not to do the swap, that the county submits the project again, but this is out year funding.
Chair Jefferson. Then.
So if you move the money from one project to another, how are you going to make up the shortfall? And is it okay for you to maybe resubmit that other project next year? Or are you hoping to do these together? So if you could explain a little bit more, that would be appreciated.
Yes, and Mr. Roisman, feel free to assist here. My understanding is that we are really interested to unify and make it as efficient as possible on the preliminary engineering phase. This is extremely, with complex stuff, this is what gives us the best bang for the buck. Both for the authorities' bank and for our buck as well. Transportation has become an extremely challenging financial endeavor today, and therefore we try to unify and front load time-wise, front load the preliminary engineering so that we know where we go. This also helps us a lot with our own CIPs later to really calibrate what we have and how we have to do that. So it helps us. The gap that we will have, and we're not going to come back to the authority for that, but we very much hope that if we can do that in a unified way, we will be able to get both done at the end without major loss. Is that correct, Mr. Roisman?
Let me also add that For the intersection project, we only requested preliminary engineering and possibly right away, but not full funding. So, you know, Ms. Backman or authority staff have not brought up policy 30 yet, but policy 30 is a consideration as the committee and the authority will be looking at this. I'll defer to staff to restate in a nutshell what policy 30 says, but we did not declare the intersection application fully funded. And although we applied for full funding for the corridor study, the authority staff recommendation only granted partial construction funding. So it is also not fully funded, and there would be a gap in either situation. So we would need to fill the gap on the corridor study regardless of final action on the intersection.
So Madam Chair, that still doesn't really address Chair Jefferson's
Jefferson.
point. If the 8.5 million that we are recommending is switched, then there still is the 8.5 million. We were, like I said earlier, we were taking the position, it would have been fully funded, but we did run out of money. But getting to policy 30, which we adopted as part of the adoption of the most recent 6-year program update, it says if we fully fund projects, do not come back. You cannot come back and ask for additional monies because we did have that situation.
In any case, I wanted to just to inform and put some frame and background to this conversation. We will be very happy to, and I think it behooves us to make a fulsome argument to the authority. That's not an issue. Mayor, I fully agree with the premise. There is one thing. Every time I sit on a table like that, there is staff work. There is the rules and the algorithmic result of that requires tons of input and tons of thought. But there is also the policy fine tuning that happens here. I don't want to leave this without a conversation. So that's all that I'm saying.
Any other comments? So at this point, what do we do with that? Do we just vote on whether to move it forward to authority, or?
You can vote on staff recommendations as is, or you can vote to make the recommendation that Arlington should be allowed to make this.
Anyone feel moved to?
I'll make the staff recommendation, and I do feel for you, and I understand what you're saying, but I just, given creating precedent does concern me greatly. So I'm going to go ahead. I recommend the authority to adopt the fiscal 2026 to 2031 6-year program.
Second.
We had
Yeah, because this committee will make a recommendation,
Right.
so we need to know if you're recommending
I'm staff recommendation as is on the agenda. Oh,
read that.
I have a different.
Yeah. 'Cause
This has been updated.
Need to do, but.
I move the PPC recommend authority adoption of the staff recommendations to the authority's fiscal year 2026 to 2031 6-year program funding recommendations for fiscal year 2030 and 2031.
Second.
Been moved by Chair Jefferson, seconded by Mayor Reed to approve the FY 2026 to 31 6-year program funding recommendations for FY 2030 and 31. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I will
I'm
oppose
saying aye.
for obvious reasons.
Oh, yes, of
With
course.
a lot
Okay.
of respect.
And I'm an
I don't
aye.
like to abstain.
Yeah.
As for me, abstention is something
with
that.
3.
that's-
Thank you. Thank you for that. And with 3, that does pass. The motion passes. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for bringing that forward. All right, moving on. Discussion information items 4 on the agenda. Number 4 is the MBTA update from Ms. Beckman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will be brief. Yesterday, we celebrated Virginia being #1 in the nation and Canada for best workplaces for commuters. So we in BTA, we hosted the celebration, but we also received the recognition 2 years in a row. So the pressure is on to receive it again next year. July 9th, at that July 9th meeting, you will be adopting the 6-year program update. And lastly, I wanted to remind you that I am scheduling, me and my team, we're in the process of scheduling the BRT action plan briefings to your localities. Please let me know if there are any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Beckman. Any questions for Ms. Beckman at all? Okay. Very,
I have one-
oh, I'm sorry.
oh,
Yes, go
sorry.
ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I apologize for starting. I just wanted to know, have we scheduled you?
Yes, yes.
That's all.
Okay, thank you. Anything else to come before the committee? If not, we are adjourned. Thank you. Thank you all. We're an hour.